Hello. You are on the Health Me channel. Today I will tell you how not to get sick with COVID. Versatile means of prevention and protection against respiratory diseases are used against coronaviruses. Coronaviruses are carried due to the fact that a sick person, when coughing and sneezing, and to a lesser extent during normal conversation and breathing, releases aerosol drops. One drop of aerosol contains tens of thousands of coronaviruses. If it gets into the respiratory system, nasopharynx and lungs, such drops cause illness. If aerosol drops fall on objects, then a person can transfer the virus to their hands by touching these objects. In this case, the virus infects people because people reflexively touch their mouth, nose and eyes with their hands at least 23 times per hour. Now I will tell you a few life hacks on how not to get sick with COVID. Rule 1. You need to wash your hands properly. Proper hand washing can prevent many infectious and bacteriological diseases, since it is with our hands that we touch dirty, contaminated surfaces. According to research data, a person touches his face with his hand at least once every 3 minutes. Mainly, this happens purely mechanically. If you touch your face with dirty fingers, which already contain harmful microorganisms, or cover your mouth with your palm while yawning, the virus can move to the mucous membrane of the eyes, nose, mouth or into the respiratory tract. After that, the person automatically becomes infected. To prevent this from happening, you need to not touch your face with your hands, but since such movements very often occur by inertia, you should keep your hands clean, namely, wash them constantly. The shell of the coronavirus consists of lipids, that is, fats that soap and alcohol dissolve very well. Therefore, you need to wash your hands not just with water, but with water and soap. It has a fat-breaking effect and destroys the lipid membrane of the virus. The same applies to alcohol. It is the main component of any antiseptics, and if a person does not have the opportunity to wash their hands, then they need to be disinfected with this substance. Unfortunately, not everyone knows how to wash their hands properly. Medical experts advise you to follow these 6 steps for effective hand washing. Wet your hands with clean, preferably running water. Apply enough soap to completely cover the surface of your hands and wrists. Rub your hands thoroughly, lathering up the previously applied soap. Wipe all surfaces, wrist tips, fingers and nail phalanges. Rinse off the soap with clean, running water. Dry your hands thoroughly. The washing process should take 30 seconds. If you cannot wash your hands, use an alcohol-based product, antiseptic. Disinfect your hands before every meal, because you can involuntarily touch your mouth with your fingers while eating. Wearing rubber gloves also does not completely protect against infection, since the coronavirus can attach itself to any surface using hydrogen bonds. Even with dirty gloves, you can touch your face mechanically. Thorough hand washing for 30 seconds is the easiest coronavirus prevention. Rule 2. Use personal protective equipment. Recently, it is quite common to meet a person walking down the street wearing a mask, or a car driver who drives alone in a car, but at the same time puts on a mask. Are these people doing the right thing, and when exactly should personal protective equipment be used? Masks must be worn so that droplets of saliva, while talking, sneezing, coughing, singing, as well as liquid nasal secretions do not get onto another person or object. Coronavirus spreads through airborne droplets, so any liquid particle coming from an infected person can be dangerous to others. The World Health Organization warns that masks alone cannot provide protection against COVID-19 unless you maintain social distancing. It is not necessary to wear personal protective equipment when driving a car, if there is one person in it, or while walking along a deserted street, since in these conditions there is no possibility of contact with other people. Masks must be worn in public places and adhere to the rules for their use. Before touching the mask, you need to wash or disinfect your hands. Constantly check its purity and integrity. put on the mask so that its edges fit snugly to the face, bend the metal clip of the medical mask to the shape of the nose. The mask must completely cover the nose, mouth and chin. It cannot be worn in any other way. Do not touch the mask while using it. Wash your hands before removing the personal protective equipment in question. Remove the mask only by the strings, ear loops or elastic bands. After removing this personal protective equipment, wash your hands with soap and water or disinfect them with an antiseptic. Fabric masks are recommended to be washed at least once a day with detergent or soap in hot water. Cold and warm water is not intended for disinfection and does not affect the coronavirus in any way. The medical mask should be thrown away immediately after use, preferably in a closed container or dustbin with a lid. The duration of use of the mask should not exceed 3 hours. After this time it becomes wet and the person begins to inhale the particles contained on it. It is important to note that long-term use of this personal protective equipment can cause discomfort, but it does not lead to oxygen deficiency and carbon dioxide intoxication. Rule 3. You need proper nutrition. Avoid eating raw or underprocessed foods. COVID-19 is transmitted by airborne droplets. There is no confirmed evidence that it is possible to contract the deadly virus by eating any food. Of course, at the very beginning of the pandemic, it was believed that people who purchased seafood at a market in Wuhan, that is, those who ate fish purchased there, were infected with the coronavirus. Later, scientists put forward a theory that pangolins and bats are carriers, but all these versions have not been confirmed. However, the coronavirus can attach to the surface of any food. That is why all fruits and vegetables must be thoroughly washed and cleaned before eating, and meat and fish should be treated with hot water. Warm and cold water has no effect on the virus. Be very careful in the market and in the supermarket. Do not touch your face with the hand that previously touched the goods being sold, because an infected person could have touched these products before you. Process all food before use. Rule 4. Try to adhere to a healthy lifestyle. Each person's immunity depends on their lifestyle. If you are constantly indoors, rarely go outside and consume a lot of fatty, fried foods or alcohol, then the body becomes more vulnerable to various viruses and bacteria. For example, if there is an unhealthy person in the apartment and the windows do not open for ventilation, then the bacteria spread by him begin to accumulate and multiply in the room. Those who live with him are at increased risk of getting sick. The same thing happens in a room with healthy people. If it is not ventilated, a lot of dust and harmful microorganisms collect there. As for walks in the fresh air, it is during them that we engage in physical activity, receive a small dose of vitamin D in sunny weather, inhale oxygen, which affects the normalization of the cardiovascular system. Alcohol and fatty foods are also detrimental to health. Eating such foods, a person gains excess weight, he has an increased risk of diseases of the gastrointestinal tract, for example, pancreatitis may appear. Of course, strong immunity is not 100% protective against coronavirus, but the level of susceptibility to all diseases depends on it. Try to follow these 4 rules and be healthy. Also, do not forget to subscribe to the channel so as not to miss a lot of useful information.